guys, I'm Heather. Welcome to Yoga for First Responders. Today we are going to focus on our internal gaze. There's a word that you might hear in yoga called drishti, and that just means your outward gaze. It's something that we use when we're balancing a lot and we find a spot to focus on, a spot that doesn't move. But today we're going to focus on our inward gaze, so our inward drishti. There's a fancy word for it too, but I don't remember what it is. Anyway, so we're going to move through a few probably familiar poses, postures that you have done before, but we're going to find a pause every now and then and maybe try closing those eyes just to really turn off the outward distraction of things that we see and try to focus inside on just how each posture, how each movement feels in the body. And not so much how it looks, but really just how it feels, because that's really what we're going for in yoga, is to just feel each movement in the body. And then as we notice, as we pause, you might tell, or I've been able to tell by now, I'm a big fan of pausing and slowing down. But as we pause, it allows us space and gives us time to change what it is that we notice, rather than just moving through the motions and just reacting to things that come along the way. Instead, we can choose to respond and to change a movement or a breath or whatever it might be. It just gives you the choice. So that is going to be our little focus today. So when you're ready, let's get started. Go ahead and find a comfortable seat. As always, on the floor, on a block, on a chair, whatever works for you. And let's try to find a nice tall seat. Let's lifting tall through the crown of the head, a nice long spine here. Let's take a few shoulder rolls as we begin, just drawing those shoulders up towards the ears and then down and back. Just a couple circles with those shoulders as we start to, again, turn that gaze inward. Now, beginning here, you are always welcome to close those eyes, but I know sometimes that's not very comfortable. So if you'd rather keep them open throughout the practice, that is completely fine. Just maybe when I cue closing those eyes, you can try just having a little downward gaze, just looking right off the tip of your nose. So as you are circling those shoulders, let's try circling them the other direction a few times, maybe forward and down. And then we'll just take one more big shoulder roll up and back. And go ahead and just let those shoulders relax down the back here. Now again, you can close those eyes, keep them open, whatever feels comfortable for you, but we're just trying to turn off all those distractions that are around us, things that we see, things that we hear, and just notice for a moment just how the body feels today. Maybe this isn't a very comfortable spot to be seated in with those legs crossed. Maybe you notice that. Maybe you feel a little pull in the hips or in the lower back. Again, as you notice those things, feel free to change how you are moving, how you are seated, until it feels a little more comfortable for you. So we're just going to take about 5 breaths. Taking a moment to maybe just do a little internal mental scan of the body. Noticing what draws your attention. And then maybe on that next breath in, let's find a little movement through those arms. Let's reach those arms all the way out and up, connecting the hands at the top, and we'll exhale them down to our heart center. And then again, as we breathe in, just reaching out nice and wide, inhaling as we lift up, exhaling those hands all the way back down to our heart. One more breath like that together as we inhale and reach, and then exhaling hands down to our heart center. Go ahead and bring these hands behind the body, uncrossing those legs. We're going to bring our feet flat to the floor, about hip width apart. And then just a few times, moving those knees side to side. Just moving them slowly with that breath. Again, maybe try closing those eyes here. Maybe you can feel the bottom, the sides of the feet as you move the knees back and forth. Maybe you feel some movement through the hips, or maybe you feel the mat underneath those sitting bones. Again, taking those little cues from in the body to maybe take it a little bit deeper. Maybe you move those knees a little further to one side, or maybe a little bit less, depending on what your body needs today. Just 2 more times each direction. And then slowly we'll bring those knees back to center. Go ahead and make a few circles with those wrists after putting a little weight on them. And then once more, let's bring those legs, crossing those legs. Let's just try having the other leg in front. So again, just finding your tall spine. Nice tall seat here. Hands can just rest on those legs or on those knees. We're going to move just through a few seated cat and cows. So on our inhale, try sitting up nice and tall, and then just take a big shoulder roll down and back. Just pausing here for a moment, slightly turning that gaze up, and we're just lifting from the chest all the way up. And then on the breath out, we're going to reverse direction as we round through the back, just allowing the shoulders to completely relax here, the elbows to soften, the belly draws in, and the chin drops towards the chest. Now always an option here to move with that breath. Maybe you inhale and lift, exhaling and round. Or it's also an option to stay and hold. Maybe take a few breaths with the heart lifted, shoulders drawn back, or the other way around. Again, maybe try closing those eyes. As you move, as you hold, as you breathe. And take about 4 more breaths here as we move forward, as we move back. Moving through the spine, through the hips, through the shoulders. And then just slowly making your way back to that neutral spine whenever you get there. Maybe softening the grip on those legs. And then go ahead and inhale. Let's reach those arms all the way back up. And this time exhale, let's bend those elbows and open through the shoulders, through the chest. Inhaling as we reach, and exhaling, let's bring those hands to our heart center. Okay, let's come, we're gonna uncross those legs. We'll come around onto those knees. And just take a few moments to bring your hips back towards those heels. We're going to extend these arms forward, finding our extended child's pose. So palms on the floor, about shoulder width apart. And maybe as we make our way here, finding some movement side to side. Just moving through those hips, shifting the weight into one leg and then into the other. And then slowly coming back to center, and on our next breath in, we're going to come forward into a kneeling plank. Bringing those shoulders above those wrists, peeking down at those knees. They're about hip width apart, but our hips are out in front of those knees. As we breathe in, reaching forward through the crown of the head, and on the breath out, let's bend those elbows, lowering all the way down to the chest and the belly, and then just taking a big shoulder roll back and down into our baby cobra. Then exhaling as we lower back down. Inhaling, we're going to lift back up to our knees, and exhaling, hips reach back to our child's pose. So we're going to move 3 times through that little flow. Again, you might be pretty familiar with this already because you know we've done it in lots of classes. So if so, try closing those eyes as you move. Inhaling as you come forward to your plank. Exhaling, slowly lowering all the way down until you feel the mat underneath the chest and the belly. And then inhaling as we lift through the crown of the head. exhaling, lowering back down. Inhale, lifting strong into that kneeling plank, and exhaling, hips reach back. 2 more times, just going nice and slow, 1 movement per breath. And you do not have to close those eyes. If those eyes are open, just try to find maybe one thing to softly focus on as we move. One more time through that. With your breath, just try to notice how each movement feels in the body. Again, you'll probably notice it in different areas, maybe in the shoulders, maybe in the hips, maybe in the back. Go ahead and pause whenever you get back to that child's pose and just take a few breaths here. Sometimes in our child's pose, it helps to feel that breath a little bit easier if we can feel the chest or the belly resting on the legs. And as we pause here, just allowing the breath to help the body just soften. The body doesn't have to do anything here. It can just soften and relax over those legs, over the mat. And 2 more breaths here. And then as you are ready, extending those arms forward, palms on the mat. We're slowly going to lift our hips, tucking the toes, reaching those hips back once again, and then lifting them up, finding your downward dog. Adjusting those feet as needed, or those hands. Feel free to walk out those heels as you bend one knee towards the mat and then the other. Maybe try shaking that head no, nodding it yes. Maybe try closing your eyes in your downward dog. Turning that gaze inward as to how the body feels in this posture. One more full breath here. Just take a nice deep breath in through the nose and out through the nose. And then slowly turn that gaze forward in between those hands, and we will step those feet towards the front of our mat. Deep bend in those knees and very slowly making your way up to standing. Our head's been down for a little bit, so feel free to keep those knees bent so we don't get lightheaded. And I apologize for this wonderful glare. Our daylight savings time has thrown off my timing with my windows and the sunlight. So we'll just keep going. All right, so as you're here in your mountain, go ahead and bring those hands to your heart center. Take a moment to find your own breath. Take a moment, see if you can feel the mat underneath those feet. Really grounding down through those feet, keeping them connected with the mat below. We're shifting, let's shift that weight into our left leg, and we're slowly going to step our right foot to the back, turning that foot out towards the side of our mat. And then we're going to turn our shoulders and our gaze forward once again, finding our warrior one. So strong through both legs, you can begin to bend into that front knee again. It can be a little bend or a deep bend. Just try to keep it either behind or right above that ankle. And then on our inhale, let's reach those arms all the way up towards the ceiling. Just finding a nice strong warrior one through those arms, through those legs. Nice deep breath in, let's lift through those arms a little bit taller, and then on the breath out, we're going to open out to the side, finding our warrior two. Turning that gaze over those front fingertips, and as you find your balance here, again, maybe we find a spot on the wall to focus on out in front of us, or try closing those eyes. Again, these spaces that you probably haven't closed those eyes in before, sometimes it'll throw off that balance, and that's okay. Just give it a try. As we close those eyes, notice what your attention needs to go towards most. I find as I do that, I go right to my feet. I feel those little movements in my feet trying to keep my balance as my eyes are closed, but maybe you feel it somewhere else. Now feel free to keep those eyes closed, or you can open them as we begin to move. So on our inhale, we're going to straighten the front leg, reaching those arms up. Maybe you turn that gaze up if those eyes are open, and then exhaling, bending the front knee as we open the arms back out. 3 times with our breath, inhaling as we lift, exhaling as we bend. Now if those eyes are closed, just go nice and slow, keeping that balance. Feeling the hands connect at the top, and then exhaling, shoulders can soften. Once more with that breath as we inhale, lifting up, and exhaling back out to that warrior 2. Left hand, let's turn it up, and then slowly reverse our warrior. So that left hand's gonna reach up towards the ceiling, right hand reaches down, and we're gonna pause right here. 3 full breaths. And then on the next exhale, we'll come back to our warrior 2, straightening this front leg. On our inhale, try reaching forward with that left hand as far as you can, till you can't reach any further, and then keeping the torso where it is, all we do is move these arms. Left hand lowers towards the leg, right hand reaches up towards the ceiling. Finding a triangle here. Trying to bring that top shoulder right above the bottom shoulder, and then try to bring that top hip right above that bottom hip. Almost like you're in between 2 planes of glass here. 3 more breaths, maybe we close those eyes. And finding that internal gaze. And then as you feel ready, go ahead and lower that top arm. We'll bend the front knee so both hands can come to the floor. Lifting that back heel, so we're coming into just a high lunge here, and we're going to keep our right hand on the floor. Directly under that shoulder, you can always bring it to a block if you're using a block. And then inhale, and left arm reaches forward, and exhale, we're going to turn to our left side, towards that front knee. Finding a little twisting lunge. Now always an option to bring that right knee to the floor, or you can keep it lifted. Again, trying to stack those shoulders, finding your breath. Maybe we close the eyes. And then as you notice what you feel here through the body, feel free to adjust as needed to make it a little more comfortable. Maybe you want to make it a little more challenging or a little less intense. So 1 more full breath here. And then slowly on the exhale, go ahead and lower both hands to the floor. We're going to step this front foot to the back to our downward dog. Feel free to walk out those heels again or move through those hips. Checking in with both sides of the body here. Maybe noticing how the hips feel, what you feel through the lower back or the side body. And then on our inhale, let's come forward to our plank and just move through your flow. Maybe you come to your knees and lower all the way down, or stay on those toes and exhale halfway down. And then inhale, lifting through the crown of your head in your cobra or upward dog, and exhaling, hips lift, downward dog. Turning that gaze forward, and then go ahead and step or hop your feet to the front of your mat. Once you get there, deep bend in those knees, grounding down into those big toes. We'll slowly make our way up to standing. And exhaling, hands together to our heart center. Finding that breath. Maybe you're breathing through the nose. Maybe it's more comfortable to breathe through the mouth. Finding what works for you today. And then on that next breath in, let's step our left foot to the back. So switching sides. Stepping that left foot, turning it out to the side. And then go ahead and turn your shoulders and your gaze forward. On our inhale, let's reach those arms all the way up. Finding that warrior 1 on the opposite side here. Nice and strong through those legs. Engaging from the feet all the way up. Through the thighs, through the glutes. Bring shoulders right above those hips. 1 more breath in here. And then on the breath out, let's open those arms out to the sides, finding that warrior two. Maybe we turn that gaze over those front fingertips. Maybe we try closing our eyes. Maybe this side feels a little different than the opposite side. Maybe you're a little more stable, a little less stable. Just notice where the attention goes. Feel free to stay right here, or you can move with that breath a few times with those eyes open or closed, your choice. Inhaling as we extend that front leg, bring those hands together at the top, and then exhale, slowly reaching out in both directions. Front knee comes right above the ankle. Inhaling as we lift, fingertips connect, exhaling, relaxing through those shoulders. 2 more times with that breath, inhaling up, exhaling as we reach. And last time here, inhaling as we lift, and exhaling, opening out through those arms. Let's turn that front hand facing up. We'll inhale, slightly reach forward, and then exhale, reversing the warrior. So right hand lifts, left hand, it can rest gently on that leg, or you can actively reach it towards the floor. 3 breaths here. Maybe try closing those eyes. And then very slowly we're going to come back to that warrior two, straightening through that front leg. Inhale, reaching straight ahead with that right hand, and then exhaling, just lowering the right hand down, left hand lifts to our triangle. We're just moving slowly through this practice today, giving ourselves a chance to notice each movement along the way. 3 breaths here in your triangle. Again, eyes can be closed or open. Trying to just find one thing maybe that you feel inside the body, whether it's a stretch, maybe it's a little wobbliness, maybe it's engagement. And then as you are ready, bending that front knee, lowering both hands to the floor, lifting that back heel off the mat, finding that high or that runner's lunge here. And then let's keep our left hand on the floor, and our inhale, we'll reach right arm forward, and then exhaling, reaching up towards the ceiling or the sky. Maybe you're outside, you can reach up to the sky. 3 breaths in this twist. Again, you can always lower that back knee to the floor or keep it lifted. Strong through both arms, turning that gaze inside the body. Finding our internal drishti, our inward gaze. And at the end of that 3rd exhale, go ahead and lower both hands all the way to the floor. We'll step this front foot to the back, lifting those hips back and up to our downward dog. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose, and a long breath out through the mouth. Again, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then slowly bringing both knees all the way to the floor. We'll bring big toes together. Go ahead and sit back into that child's pose one more time here. Finding a space for the forehead to rest. Unless it's more comfortable to hover over the floor, feel free to stay there, or you can bring your hands to the floor, or your forehead to the mat. Feel free to close those eyes here. Noticing as the body breathes in, where the breath goes. And as the body breathes out, what can soften? 5 full breaths here. walking those hands up, we'll come up, maybe onto those knees if it's comfortable, or you can just come back and have a seat on your mat. Again, I'm so sorry about that glare. All right, let's go ahead and bring those hands back to our heart center. And on our breath in, let's reach them all the way up. And on the breath out, slowly bringing them back down. Finishing with a nice cleansing breath. Let's take a breath in through the nose here, reaching those arms up. And then nice and long out through the mouth. As those arms lower all the way down. Thank you for joining me for practice today, trying to find that internal gaze. Again, you can always do that anywhere throughout your day. Just take a moment to close those eyes or to find the breath, just to regroup and refocus. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.